Joined by Sportsnet's Ian Mendes after another 6-1 victory for the Ottawa Senators. They clinch this series here in Game 5. Move on to round 2 with a 4-1 series win. What went right tonight for Ottawa?
Well, I think the key, and you don't think about this in a 6-1 game, you think, well, probably the goaltending wasn't a big deal. It was. It was the biggest reason why they won this game was Craig Anderson. Early in the game, Rene Bourque has a golden opportunity in the slot. If he scores that goal, maybe the crowd sort of gets on the Habs side and things turn. But Anderson was solid. It's almost like he shut the door early when it mattered, and he gave them their feet. He gave them the opportunity to win a hockey game. And I think the game really turned when it was 2-1, and Ottawa scores that kind of funny goal on Peter Budaj where Kyle Turris crashes into the net, and the puck goes off his body on the Eric Condra shot. That was the one where you could feel the wind come out of the sails of the building. You could feel the wind come out of the sails for the Montreal Canadiens, and that was the definitive turning point in Game 5.
All right, and Craig Anderson, another solid performance tonight. And again, Michel Therrien said he was the player of the series.
Well, yeah, I think if you look at this objectively, which I know is hard for people to do that are either Habs fans or Sens fans, look at this objectively. The Montreal Canadiens were the better team in this series. Even though there was a couple games that were 6-1, I think if you took the total number of games that are minutes played, the Habs probably carried the play more to Ottawa than the other way around. But the reason why we're now talking about Ottawa advancing round 2 is Craig Anderson. And to boil this thing down simply is, if you include the third period and overtime of this series, the Ottawa Senators outscored the Montreal Canadiens 13-0. 13-0. I would wager to say that that might be the biggest discrepancy in the history of the NHL in a single postseason of one team outscoring another team in the third period and overtime. And Craig Anderson is the reason why there's a big goose egg there for the Montreal Canadiens.
And coming into this playoff series, who would have thought that Ottawa would even score over 20 goals in 5 games?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing. Our whole storyline coming into this series was, boy, this is going to be, if Ottawa's going to win games, it's got to be 1-0, 2-1. And that was the way they won games all season long. And then you look at the score sheet and you're like, whoa, there's a 6-1 game. There's another 6-1 game. Then there's a Game 1 where they scored 3 goals in the third period. Then there's Game 4 of this series where they scored twice in the final 8 minutes and then once again in overtime. Like, the offense, this is an offensively starved team without Jason Spezza, without Erik Karlsson playing at 100%. This isn't supposed to happen. They're not supposed to score 20 goals in a 5-game series, but they did that. And I think at full credit, again, a lot of it goes to Anderson because I think guys can take a little bit more of a chance. If you're Corey Conacher or Kyle Turris or Eric Condra and you're thinking, should I go, should I not go? Well, I got Anderson back there. And I think he gives them a great deal of confidence. That's a big reason why offensively they're able to click.
Now, can they carry this offense forward to round 2 where they might meet Pittsburgh or Boston or the Rangers?
If Marc-Andre Fleury is playing, yes. If Marc-Andre Fleury is not playing, it's Thomas Vokoun, it's going to be a lot harder. Let's be honest. If they face the Pittsburgh Penguins, and right now they look like they're on a collision course with the Penguins, if it's Thomas Vokoun, it's not going to be as easy as you think. Because, yeah, you know what? The Penguins have struggled defensively in the postseason. They did last year against the Flyers in the first round. They have this year against the Islanders. But, again, that's with Marc-Andre Fleury. They turned the key over to Thomas Vokoun. They're a different team. And Ottawa, as I mentioned, I thought they got outplayed in large chunks of this series by Montreal. You can't get outplayed in large chunks by the Penguins because they've got Crosby and Malkin and Iginla and Neal and these guys that will make you pay. I don't think the Montreal Canadiens made the Ottawa Senators pay enough when they carried the play to them.
All right, and the Ottawa Senators, just to recap, this rivalry with the Montreal Canadiens is now on a whole new level. How can they carry this through to next season against the Habs?
Well, yeah, I think a rivalry's been born. And I think you always need a playoff series between two teams to kickstart a rivalry. And the Ottawa-Montreal thing was kind of stagnant. They played the first game ever in Ottawa Senators history back in 1992. And everyone thought, okay, well, they're going to kickstart a great rivalry. It never happened. It never came to fruition. And then the whole Leafs thing happened for 4 years in the late 90s, early 2000s. And that sort of took everyone's mind. Now we've got a legitimate rivalry here. And you think back to some of the memorable sound bites from this series, the memorable hit from Greiba on Lars Eller, the overtime game, the controversial call on the Zibanejad goal. There's been a lot of memorable incidents, and yeah, I'd say for sure we got ourselves a great rivalry here.
All right, Ian, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next round as the Ottawa Senators move on to round 2 with a 4-1 series win, a 6-1 Game 5 victory.